Toxic positivity in the art community is a real thing, just like how toxic positivity has sort of become an issue in every single fandom post-2020, post-COVID, and I really want to talk about it because it's something that really interests me, and I feel like a lot of people don't really want to talk about it because they're afraid of getting, like, harassed for saying that toxic positivity exists in, like, many different communities, and so I'm gonna go into it, and I want to compare, like, the sort of, like, gacha community to the art community because, you know, these are both communities that I've been in for years, and I see so many similarities that, you know, nobody wants to talk about. So before I get into this, please like the video to support me, and please subscribe if you like this sort of content because I'm gonna go really deep into this, and I hope you like my sort of commentary about this. When it comes to toxic positivity in sort of, like, communities and games and media and stuff, you want to know, what does toxic positivity mean? And in my opinion, or the definitions that I'm basically be using, is that somebody's, like, so positive about something that they're not willing to critique it. And it's not even just about being so positive about something that you're not willing to critique it or you don't critique it. It's also about harassing or insulting somebody who does decide to critique it. And something about the artist community and something about the gacha community is that they're really in their own sort of bubble. Meanwhile, the majority of the world sort of agrees with critiquing media in every facet because it's going to be what they're going to be consuming, what they're going to be spending their time on, and what they're going to be sacrificing time for. The best way to describe these sorts of groups of people is just tribes. Like, they are so tribal that they will not take any criticisms from other groups. It's a sad truth that nobody wants to hear, but when you're in these sort of art communities and somebody says art is not subjective, for some reason the art community has some vitriolic reaction towards the fact that somebody said something like that, or the fact that somebody said something that they don't agree with in the art community itself. For more context as well, I would not say that the art community includes people who consume the art, because if you don't draw, then you are not a part of this sort of community. This is not a dig at people who consume the art, right? I'm sure there's people within the art community who do not draw but do get in on a lot of this drama and stuff, but it's very unlikely if you don't draw to be getting this sort of stuff on your For You page or on your feed, right? And why I bring this up is because these places, they become echo chambers to the community itself, so people don't really see the opinions of normal people or people who are outside the community, and that's exactly why I wanted to bring up gacha games, because in gacha games, the exact same situation's happening in the art communities where people are saying an opinion that may be unpopular and people are getting attacked for it because they're not being positive like everyone else. So, for example, someone might say, we shouldn't keep saying that art is subjective because it doesn't value our art as much and it makes it so we have no reason to improve because everything is subjective. And the person who says this gets plagued as some sort of villain just because they said something that was actually pretty common sense and actually a value that most people hold with every single piece of media. Or let me give a better example. So someone says something like pillow shading is bad. Yes, you know where I'm getting this from. Somebody says that pillow shading is bad, right? And it's an opinion that somebody has. They say that I think that pillow shading is actually disadvantageous towards beginner artists and that they should try to stray away from doing something like pillow shading. I think within an artist's mind who sees something like that, their first thought is that this person sort of has an ego and that they think that they know everything, when in reality that is really not the case. They never said that they were the best artists ever. Hell, like, a lot of them say this because they have went through phases where their art was bad because of the methods that they used. And they're just informing people of, you know, their experiences in a easy to consume way, such as simply saying pillow shading is bad. I also think that this reaction comes from a lack of critical thinking, where people just react based off of emotion instead of actually, you know, taking a moment to step back and be like, why are they saying this in the first place? So, going to compare it to sort of Genshin Impact, the sort of Genshin Impact community that happened, people would literally get harassed for saying stuff like, oh, I don't like this event is pretty boring, it's not interesting, I'm not having fun, I want Hoyoverse to improve this part of the game because honestly, you have so much money, you make billions a year off this game. Why can't you improve something like this? Then the toxic positive community would come in and harass them and essentially say that, well, we like it, so you should too, or your opinion means nothing. The same thing happens with Wuthering Waves. It's like, of course, if you are a community of people who like the game and you like the game, well, you like the game. There is nothing I can really say about it, right? But I will say my opinion, and I think that a lot of the story gets sort of undercut by the amount of fan service that is put it in. And I'm not saying fan service as if, oh, this character has a really raunchy outfit. No, it's like you're sacrificing like 20 minutes of a scene that really did not need to exist to put it into the game, which also up the pacing a little bit. Like, I feel like that's a very valid opinion to have about a game, right? Or about a certain part of the game. Like, it's not crazy to say that sometimes fan service can be way more invasive than most people take account for. And when somebody says something like that within the Wuthering Waves community, if everybody immediately becomes defensive and is ready to just harass this person who says this, like, oh, this game was not made for you then. Like, no, there are valid issues with your game. Not everything about your game is perfect. So why should the art community be treated any differently? I think everybody can agree that some games are objectively better than other games, and they're both pieces of art in their own right. And yes, this is me looking at this at the macro level. I will not ignore that fact. So there's a lot of nuance to this, but I personally believe that the better product will get the most attention. And when you see that, such as like Marvel Rivals getting more attention than Overwatch, there is such a thing as better works, better pieces of work. So when so many of these games and pieces of media have things that can be proven with metrics and stats, why do we ignore the metrics and stats between art? Or at least individuals' art? And I can get right into that. I can defend, I can even say why people don't do that, and I can agree in a lot of aspects, such as these are individual artists. Popular games which millions of people play cannot be one-to-one compared to by individual artists who may only get a few likes per post. So then when people go to individual artists and single artists, it immediately makes me turn to mangas. I don't think people realize that mangakas and manhwa artists, a lot of them are all like one person. Same with novelists, but people are always comfortable critiquing those people, so why are we not able to critique singular artists on TikTok or on media or on YouTube? Talk about Chainsaw Man, can we say stuff like, oh, this manga's art style is getting so much worse, it's actually like really bad, but we can't say to the online art community, yo, this way of drawing is not exactly the best and can prove to become difficult later on unless you decide to polish it. So what's up with that? And low-key, again, I just think it's because people don't really understand that they're kind of stepping on their own foot all the time. 24/7, they're stepping on their own foot, and they're only following whatever the popular voice says. What is the popular opinion? Can we say this? Can I say this? Right now, it's really popular to make a video of me harassing somebody for saying that pillow shading is bad and that we should give artists actual advice. So yeah, why not make a video harassing this person? Because, you know, the internet already decided that it's okay to do that. That's exactly what happened with Tectone and the Genshin Impact community, and will happen to people forever in all communities if nobody speaks up about this. And like, this video isn't really about, oh, is art subjective? Is it objective? Like, no, it's not about that. It's about the fact that people cannot come up with their own opinions without waiting for public opinion to already, you know, wash through. It just pisses me off that like nobody can think for themselves and will always just follow that sort of group think. And I inquire everybody who's watching this video right now to try and always think outside the box. Try to always think outside of your community. Try to always think outside of your peers, or try to find the reason why you believe the way you believe, right? Because I have my opinion, okay? I think that art is subjective and objective at the same time, just at different levels. And I've been figuring out my opinion about this for a long time. I've been looking outside of the art community for people's opinions, what they think of the art community. And my take is that at the macro level, art will always be objective, and at the micro level, it will be subjective. So just like how somebody can choose between whether they like anime art versus realistic art, that is a micro level choice. How somebody can choose whether they like a character if they have brown hair or blonde hair more, that is a micro level choice. And at the macro level, it is not a choice. The macro level, in my opinion, is the human response towards what they see on the screen. So I will use my art as an example because, of course, I'm not going to use any random person's art, but I can easily put a foot down and say that my art at the macro level is not as good as Moku Mokuren. And that's the way I improve my art. It's by accepting that my art is not as good as it could be. And I guess it's just like something that a lot of people don't want to accept, is that their art could be better or that they could improve. And I know that a lot of people also come up with the argument that, oh, some people just don't want to improve. Like, it's their choice not to improve. Yeah, you can choose not to improve, but like, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, it doesn't make you interesting, it doesn't make you special. At least in my opinion, I think that would just make art a colossal waste of time. You could use your time with something else if you don't want to improve in what you're doing. But yeah, it's a choice. If you don't want to improve, you can do what you want. I'm not here to control you. I'm not here to change you. I'm here to support the beginner artists who want some advice from people and don't want to just be told that, oh, your art is beautiful, art is subjective, because low-key when people go in the comment sections of somebody's video or somebody's art, art and be like, oh, art is subjective, it low-key sounds like a sly remark. It low-key sounds like an insult sometimes. And I love that a lot of people on the opposing side of like my sort of opinion love to go in like my comment section and be like, well, you didn't give any advice, you just like talking shit. Which is true. Talking shit is my pastime. But this video really isn't to dog on beginner artists or people who believe that art is subjective. My hate and my vitriol mostly goes to the sort of groupthink mentality that people have in this community where they can't even explain why they believe a certain way. Now, even though I personally think that you're wrong if you blanket statements say that art is subjective, I really will respect your opinion if you came to that conclusion yourself, because I respect somebody with their own personal opinions that they've come to themselves rather than someone who just follows whatever their peers say. I hope you enjoyed this video. Okay, the advice is this video itself. You know, you can do what you want though. If you think art is subjective, that's fine, right? If you don't want to improve your art, don't improve your art. You know what? I'd be glad if you don't improve your art, because that means that there is less competition for me. Oh yeah? So, have fun, do what you want, express yourself how you want, and I'll see y'all in the next one.